All right, we're live here on Facebook. Never done a setup live show on Facebook, by the way. Will, have you? Have you done this before?
No, yeah. We've done it. Ivans and I have done it a couple of times in the morning, charitable stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I used to be tech savvy, tech smart, and now just the fact that I can operate an iPhone, I've got to call my parents to actually feel smart. But good to see you, by the way. We don't see each other very often anymore.
I know. I think I've seen you since March, so that's been a while. Yeah.
Well, first of all, awesome to do the show with you. It's always fun. We always get cool feedback. I think as the show went along, we got back into the old groove of we'll just see where this bad boy takes us, and that was a lot of fun. And it was cool to get together to help out Second Harvest. That organization obviously means a lot to both of us and a lot to a lot of people in East Tennessee. So that was really cool today too.
I appreciate the fact that you're willing to waive that contractual demand that you made that you don't ever have to do a broadcast with me again, and you did it for Second Harvest Food Bank. That's how big of a cause this is, and how big of a fundraiser this is. Josh Ward was willing to waive that in his contract, that he doesn't ever have to do radio with me again.
Well, also the fee that is required for me to waive that I also waived should not be excluded in this conversation. That was the real sacrifice. But you know what? That's the kind of guy I am, Will. But yeah, so we had fun. JoshWardHunger.com. I think you'll see it scrolling there on the bottom of the page. JoshWardHunger.com is the website if you'd like to go donate. We had a ton of support during the show, which was it was one, so cool to see. Two, not surprising. Like you mentioned, the drive that you did on the starting lineup several months ago, you guys had a ton of success, and you knew that you would, right? Because people are just they're so willing to help. I mean, it is the volunteer state, and the community and the support of East Tennessee, I think, is always there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is. And that's, I mean, when you say it, it's not just trying to be John Cena singing Rocky Top when he's in Knoxville, but doing the Gator Chop in Gainesville, right? It's the volunteer is not just a mascot here. It's our birthright. It's who we are. And so I do think that whenever there's something like this, people always step up. We never take that for granted, but at the same time, we know what's going to happen. And I think that's something that's just really awesome, that the people in East Tennessee can always be counted on when our neighbors need something, for people to step up. I did think it with Second Harvest, it helps too. And that Second Harvest is something that benefits everybody in the nonprofit world, churches that have food banks, people that need food each week. I mean, it doesn't matter what food bank you're talking about. And and also kids with food. I mean, like backpack programs that you see different churches and different nonprofits groups do. They get that food from Second Harvest Food Bank. I mean, so they help everybody who are kind of the hands and feet that are out there. That can't happen without Second Harvest Food Bank. And so I do think people understand here in East Tennessee how vitally important that they are.
Yep. So thanks to everybody who has supported. I'm going to do a meal update, what's been provided by you in just a moment. So it's the community stepping up. It's people, listeners to our station just continue to be there. We had Andy White call in from Ted Russell Ford Lincoln during the show.
Andy White.
Yeah. He made a very generous donation that provided a lot of meals to a lot of people who need it. So big thank you again. So the show today was supporting Second Harvest Food Bank, having some fun. Football is around the corner. We touched on it during the radio show. There's no proper segue. I don't believe there is. Usually I'm pretty good at them. I don't have one now, except for it's like the second topic of the show here. But is that
topic number two? Is that what you're saying?
Topic number two. Yeah, that would be the right way to put it. Odell Beckham Jr. He was getting some headlines, especially on social media. Now he actually, I'll pull it up here, but Odell. He kind of acknowledged it earlier today as he posted on Instagram just 2 hours ago. So at this point, he knows what he's putting in the caption here. He knows this is taken off. The caption was, "Can't knock me off my pivot, no matter what." I don't even know what I'm supposed to say here, but no matter what hoops thrown my way is what he wrote. So he's aware of what has been said, and there was an allegation made of what he prefers with members of the opposite sex.
Can I just say it? There's an allegation that, I'm not trying to kink shame anybody or anything like that. Hopefully the kids aren't watching this, but there's an allegation that Odell Beckham Jr. likes a girl to go number 2 on him when they're having relations. And let's be honest, the problem is with Odell Beckham Jr., you have to at least believe that there's the possibility that it's true, right? And with anybody else, like if somebody said that about Tom Brady, you'd be like, yeah, right, whatever, this lady's just trying to get some fame or notoriety. If it was Alvin Kamara, you'd say, yeah, right, no chance. Odell, there's a possibility. It's at least on the table. Like the voice goes up a little bit when I say, maybe Odell did this, right?
Yeah, he transcends the sports into pop culture conversation, right? I mean, Drake's he's all over he's Odell's all over the sports world, but he's hanging out with Drake as well. In the off season, he can go anywhere, and you'll see there's a picture of him on a boat with teammates, but you'll find a picture of him somewhere overseas with a rap star, movie star, or whatever. So with Odell, there's nothing that you could tell me that I would be like, there's no way that's true. Any story I would have to at least take pause and consider. And, I don't know if I'm supposed to believe or disbelieve based on the post, or maybe he's just accepting. I don't know. But the fact that Odell even chimed in and acknowledged, because this would be one where I would think you'd be like, I'm not saying anything to anybody for 48 hours, and I'll talk to the media after the game when I have to. And by then we will have moved on. Day of, in the middle of it going on, Odell chimes in on Instagram. So it makes me pause even more.
He also didn't deny it, right? Isn't that also something that there's not been a denial from Odell Beckham Jr.? Although, would you deny this? Like, if you deny, do you give it more life? I mean, how do you go about saying, no, I don't like to have, a lady friend go number 2 on me while we're having relations? I mean, I don't know how you have that. We're all adults here, but at the same time, the fact that there's not a denial is something to me. I don't know that it's everything, but I'll also ask you this. Give me the other athlete that you would say, okay, I believe this is at least possible when you heard this about. Because I can only think of maybe 2 other ones.
Yeah, so the question is kind of who's your Tyson zone athlete? Tyson zone, did Bill Simmons coin that phrase? The Tyson zone being any story comes up and it's somewhat believable because things are just out of control completely. You said two come to mind immediately. Let me think about that.
I believe this one can be true about. I don't know that they're in the
I got you.
Like, because Conor McGregor's in the Tyson zone. Like, if you told me it happened, I'd have
that's about right.
Well, that's pretty. But this one specifically, there are only 2 athletes that come to mind that I think I would believe at least this is possibly true.
Who do you have?
Butler and Rajon Rondo.
Oh yeah, Rondo's something.
Yeah, he's just a weird dude, right? He's just a different guy altogether. And so he's kind of in the Tyson zone for me a little bit. Jimmy Butler's just straight up insane. And so I think that if you told me at the end of it, pick somebody else you believe this could at least be possible about, because every other athlete, you said it about LeBron, Giannis, Steph, Clay, Durant, Kyrie, nobody, even Kyrie, I would be like, no chance. But if you say Jimmy Butler,
yeah, he's not really active anymore as an athlete, as far as I'm aware. But like Johnny Manziel, things had just, he had personal issues. I think everything's well documented at this point. But Johnny, he's retired, right? He's not playing anymore. He's done. Is the last we saw him the AAF, the Alliance Football League?
No, did he actually? Yeah, that's right. He did play a little bit. He tried CFL, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then he got Jeremiah Masoli beat him up, was keeping him on the bench for gosh sakes. So quick aside, is there a possibility Johnny Manziel just wasn't that good? And just athletically, he was good enough for college, but just not beyond the personal problems aside, that he also just wasn't good?
As good as people expected him to be, or he was hyped up to be, yeah, probably so. I think if he's Russell Wilson with his mindset, if Johnny Manziel is Russell Wilson, and that everything I do is going to be centered around being the best football player I can be, because there are some physical limitations. His height would stand out, but he's athletic enough. Is Manziel Russell Wilson? No, I'm not saying that. But could he start in the NFL, considering the rules and how they allow you more opportunity and more freedom and a little more safety? I think he could have played, but he was just nowhere near that. I mean, he was the opposite of Russell Wilson, in fact. So if Russell Wilson were the opposite of what he is mentally, I don't think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL or even playing in the league. So I think if you're Manziel, you had to go above and beyond in the preparation side, and he fell well short. So he just didn't stand a chance.
What always the moment that I saw the 40 time and they were talking about 4.8 40 or whatever for him, and I was like, that Ainge ran that, for gosh sakes. And this guy's not a pocket passer, so it just ain't gonna work. And he's also like $170, so he's gonna get broken in half if he does try to run against NFL teams at that speed right now.
Yeah. We've got some questions coming in as well. We'll see if we can work in. Wayne says J.R. Smith, by the way. What do you think about J.R. Smith?
J.R. Smith is in the OBJ zone, I guess is what we'd call it, where if somebody told you that this guy liked for girls to go number 2 on them, you'd have to at least believe it's a possibility. J.R. Smith probably is in the OBJ zone.
Yeah, I like JR having a contract again, being back in the league. He's not playing for the Lakers, but he is there on the bench. Garrett asks, if you had to choose two teams for the Super Bowl right now and pick a winner, who would it be? You actually did this on Sports 180 earlier today, right? We made bold predictions, and you made your Super Bowl winner pick and your matchup.
Yeah, no, I think that the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. I think the Cowboys are going to be there. Part of it is I've said for as long as we've done the show and I've done Sports Talk Radio, as long as Jerry Jones draws breath on planet Earth, they will not win a Super Bowl. But when I started going through the NFC teams that I believe in, the Niners aren't going to get back because that's just not the way that it works necessarily. I don't trust the Rams with the way their salary cap situation is. There's not enough around Russell Wilson. The Packers, who knows what's going on there? I don't trust the Vikings. I don't trust the Lions. So I'm looking at the NFC South, and can they get it done in year one with Brady? That just seems like it's really unrealistic. And then so the Saints would be the other team, and I just wonder that they have enough defensively. So I think it's the Dallas Cowboys is the team that I kind of went with there. And there's talent there. We've known the talent's there. It may be the last year they're able to hold on to the current talent they do have, but they have a real head coach there. It seems like Jerry got out of his own way for the draft, at least. So maybe he gets out of his own way for the season. And I think the Cowboys can get there. I think the Ravens also, I think that Lamar Jackson's going to take another step as a pocket passer. And he's just going to be a monster and go back-to-back MVPs. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, if Lamar's better, that is frightening because he was awesome during the regular season. I know the game against the Titans didn't go well, so until he has that postseason success, Lamar's going to have a difficult time getting all the respect that he probably should get. And look, that just comes with the territory. Until you win at the highest level as a quarterback, as a number one in basketball, there's just going to be some reservation. But if Lamar is better, then yeah, I don't make as much of how the postseason's gone. Year one, he's a rookie, so I had no expectations. Last year, it got away from him. Titans deserve all kinds of credit for it. So I don't hate the pick. I kind of go Mahomes for the MVP just because if he's healthy, I also think how people think. And I think it's natural. If you're a Heisman winner, they're just not going to give it to you in the next year. If you're the MVP, it's going to be difficult unless you make it so obvious. So because Mahomes last year won the Super Bowl, so he's got that kind of credit and respect. If he's healthy through the year, I'm assuming the numbers will be there. So then they go back to Mahomes and say, okay, you've reestablished yourself as the number one guy. Now, with your Cowboys pick from the NFC, there's been a lot of Cowboys as the Chiefs of the NFC talk, meaning their offense, because they have all these weapons. Is Dak there? Now, I would say they could be Chiefs light because they could put up a ton of numbers, and they're actually maybe going to be more involved in the running game, although I like Clyde with the Chiefs. But they still revolve around Zeke probably a lot. What do you think with the Cowboys offense? Obviously, you have the team doing well.
Yes, sir. Well, the difference is Andy Reid is one of the better offensive minds in football, and we've known Andy Reid's one of the better offensive minds in football, and everyone's always thought that. The difference with Mike McCarthy, and I think he's a good coach, is that when you hear people break down what Mike McCarthy does, it's the most simplistic offense and maybe antiquated offense in football, and people have said that for 10 years, right? So I just don't think that all those creative things that Andy Reid did with the power shuffle read and the different things like that Reid did and finding ways to get your running back and they split out on mismatches against linebackers that they can outrun. I just don't think that McCarthy's going to be able to create all of those things. So for them to be the Chiefs, I don't think they're going to be. But what I look at from the Cowboys that I like is bread and butter. They can block, they can run the football, they can run play action. They've showed last year where they probably didn't try to run play action nearly as much. Dak can beat you deep. They've got receivers right now, so you like that. The defense is fine. It's good enough. And frankly, the NFC, there are a ton of question marks. So that's probably the biggest reasons why I look at the Chiefs were a juggernaut and they were a monster last year, which is a buzzsaw. I don't think this Cowboys team can be a buzzsaw this year, but I do think when I go through the list of questions that I have about the team, about teams in the NFC, I don't know that the Cowboys aren't the team that I have the fewest number of questions. Now they got the biggest one, and that's Jera. And Jera probably is the biggest wild card in all of this, right?
Yeah. Years ago, did you make the proclamation as long as he's the man on top, they're not going to win another Super Bowl? Am I right on that?
I said as long as he's alive, they're not going to win.
Like so, yeah, because he'll have his fingers on
planet Earth, right? And so if he moves to Mars, maybe they can get it done. If he goes Woody Johnson and Trump gives him makes him the ambassador of Poland or something like that, then maybe Stephen, because I like Stephen Jones. I think he does a solid job. Yeah. Jerry's just always in his own way and has been for over 20 years.
All right, just a couple more things, and then we'll wrap up here on Facebook Live. Thanks for everybody who's tuning in. We're supporting Second Harvest Food Bank of East Tennessee. JoshWardHunger.com is the website if you'd like to make a donation to the food drive. What about Brady and the Bucks? They get going. I can't wait for Brady versus Breeze, but Brady with the Bucks, Gronk's there, Fournette. Did you see his comments? Maybe the first quarterback he's had, real quarterback in his life. So he goes from Bortles, Foles, and Minshew to Brady. But what do you think down there in Tampa? Ton of hype.
They're loaded though too, right? I mean, that was one of the top offensive lines in football last year. The defense had its problems, but a lot of it was because of the turnovers and where the field position was. But man, they've got weapons. And if you look at, so last year I did this because Kaner and I would argue this because he was like, Tom Brady's done. Look at what the stats were. He can't play anymore.
He's way too hard on Brady. Way too.
I don't want the Titans to sign him. And I'm like, you tell me the team that had worse offensive weapons around them than Tom Brady last year. And we went through every team in the league, and nobody had worse weapons around them than Tom Brady last year. There's nobody that you wouldn't say, I'll trade my weapons for the Patriots' weapons if you're the GM of that team. Nobody. So now you're going to go from that at New England last year to you're going to have Leonard Fournette. You're going to have two not good but really good wide receivers. You're going to have two, at least between Gronk and O.J. Howard. You're going to have two guys that pretty good options at the tight end position. They should be loaded. It's just a matter of can you in 1 year catch lightning in a bottle with that group of players and win a Super Bowl. Remember that Philadelphia Eagles team that was supposed to be a super team that had Vic and they ended up getting Ronnie Brown and all those other guys, and it just didn't
Vince Young to be the backup quarterback, right?
Yeah, so it just didn't. Those personalities didn't mesh together. The Cleveland Browns last year, a lot of people were saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm like, let's see them go 8-8 first before I believe that they're going to win the Super Bowl. I trust the people that are in charge here, and I trust I trust Brady more than I do Baker Mayfield. But I do think when you put that many quality players together, it's going to be tough for everybody to check their ego. And I don't know that they're going to necessarily. I can't pick them to win the Super Bowl year one being together.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there, but I do think they're going to be good. I think they'll have success. Part of it is I think the division's super competitive. I think the Falcons will bounce back and be better. The Saints, I think, might end up being my pick. I haven't made an official pick, but I think they might be my pick out of the NFC. And then the Panthers, I don't know. Matt Rule's there. They have Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. That stabilizes things. I like Bridgewater better than Kyle Allen. I don't think that's much of a reach. So it's going to be super competitive. I also, how wishy-washy do I sound when I try to figure out what's going to happen because this preseason's different? Maybe I'm making too much of that, but it affects my thinking. I know that.
Well, I don't think you are making too much of it because, again, it's even taken week 3, week 4, like we talked about in the show today. It's week 3, week 4 before you really are like, okay, the NFL stabilized, the good teams win, the bad teams are bad.
Yeah.
Now we might be looking at week 6, week 7, and which teams fall apart because they can't mentally handle the fact that it's not gone the way that they thought it was going to work for those first 5 or 6 weeks. So I do think this is going to be a little bit of an unstable year in the NFL, and we could see teams with talent just have outlier years that are teams that overachieve and teams that underachieve. I just think it's an outlier season a little bit from the National Football League, probably.
Yeah, probably so. And then agree or disagree, my bold NFL pick was Cam Newton as a Pro Bowler.
I agree. Now, who among us has not been a Pro Bowler? Well, so there's also that. Everybody.
Yeah, I should have clarified. Actually, it's a non-alternate Pro Bowler. So I think he's like a first pick Pro Bowl selection with the Patriots. I think it'll click.
The way that it works out for the Patriots, he's going to be great. He's going to throw for 3,500 yards, rush for 500, and be in the Pro Bowl, and they're going to win 11 games and win that division, right? That's the way that it's going to work with Belichick and with McDaniel and everything in New England. They've lost a lot, though. People don't talk about 4 of their front 7's gone. Their offensive line coach, who over and over again pulled guys off the scrap heap.
Karnecchia, the best.
Yeah. So they've got a lot. Look, beyond Brady, they've got a lot that they have to replace with New England right now.
You're not wrong. All right, we'll say goodbye. But Will, thanks again. I called you and said, hey, will you do Sports 1A with me? Let's help out Second Harvest. And you said, absolutely, I'll do anything. So I really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, too. We got to reminisce, got to talk some nonsense. So it's good stuff today.
Yeah, had a good time, man. Thanks for having me. And again, it's JoshWardHunger.com. It's a Second Harvest. You literally, I don't know if there is a nonprofit organization that you can benefit that benefits more nonprofit organizations and helps more people at East Tennessee than Second Harvest.
Yeah, and I haven't said what my long shot goal was. My long shot goal was 30,000 mils, so that's $10,000. We're just under 20,000 with 2.5 days roughly to go. So nice. I don't know if we'll get there, but we can try, right? So any donation helps. Big thanks to everybody who has JoshWardHunger.com. If you would like to donate to the Hunger Action Hero Drive that I have going. And every dollar that's donated goes right to Second Harvest Food Bank. So joshwardhunger.com is the website. Thanks again. Will, I'll see you again soon. Don't forget your soccer show starts up tomorrow night, right? At 7 o'clock.
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Absolutely. So starting at 11, it'll be me and Chris Carroll back again talking the world of soccer at 7 to 8.
Yep. All right. Will, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Okay. Thanks for being here. It's Facebook Live, and it was a lot of fun. Appreciate all the comments. Chris Mills behind the scenes set this all up for us. So, Chris, that'll do it. Thank you for your help, and keep up with us on 99.1, the Sports Animal, and don't miss Will in the morning on the starting lineup. I'll be back tomorrow at noon with Heather on Sports 180, and one more time the plug, joshwardhunger.com. Thanks so much for being here.